What's up, everyone? Welcome to a special episode of Talking Stuff. I'm Jeremy Birmingham. This is Lettermen Row. This is, as always, brought to you by Buyers Auto. If you're looking for an auto, go to buyersauto.com. I'm joined today by Ohio State 2021 commitment Kyle McCord, who is sitting in an airport in Charlotte, North Carolina, on his way back home to Philadelphia. After spending a couple days in Nashville, Kyle, first and foremost, it had to feel pretty good to just get away from home for a few days, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely needed. Just sitting at home for the last 3 months, 4 months, has been a little tough, but, it's nice to get, out of the state of New Jersey and, get down to Nashville and compete a little bit.
So the competing, as Kyle just alluded to, was in the Elite 11, the country's premier quarterback competition / combine / camp. This year, obviously, Kyle, was a little bit different. You guys didn't have the Elite 11 regionals. You didn't have to go through all of the process as far as going out and competing to get invited. Can you just illuminate for people what it took to get invited to this event? Because it's not just about being Kyle McCord 5-star. There were things you had to do, right?
Yeah. So they had a whole online evaluation process. They sent out, it was about 5 steps, I think. So they sent it to, I think they said 100 quarterbacks. So it was a combination of doing a few tests that they had. And then we had to do a little throwing session they put together and film it, send that over. And then we had to write, I think, an essay about, a specific topic that they had already predetermined. But it was a good process. I mean, they made it as easy as possible, and I felt like it was smooth considering the circumstances.
Now, I mean, if you look as an outsider looking in, you see the names that were there, and it looks like a who's who of quarterbacks around the country, the highest ranked kids in the country, the kids who are committed to the biggest schools. Do you think that there was actually an opportunity for somebody to sneak in who last year, CJ Stroud, for example, your future teammate at Ohio State, was a middle of the road prospect when he competed that got invited to the Elite 11 finals. Do you think a guy like that this year could have made it?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think there were definitely, some guys that got invited that, were maybe flying under the radar a little bit. But, I think that's what the Elite 11 is all about. I mean, I think the biggest thing that people look for is the top guys, every single year. I think, those guys are really the ones that people look out for. But then there's definitely, 2 or 3 guys that, are kind of under the radar guys that can really spin it. And, every year you see that. And I feel like this year, with the evaluation process is no different. I felt like the staff did a really good job of, finding, the best quarterbacks in the nation. And, I was pretty impressed with some guys that, I never heard of before I got out there.
You had 3 days of competing in Nashville. You came out of the gate. I think you might acknowledge it. It's hard to go from not competing to stepping into that bright light atmosphere and be your best in a city you don't know at night, random after travel. Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening, they had the pro day, the combine style throwing competition, which you won. Last year, the winner of that event was CJ Stroud. He scored, I think, 50 points. You scored 45 to win this year. What did you learn about yourself on the second day? Because I think that everybody probably came out with a little bit of jitters on day one. But what did you figure out going into day two that really helped you turn it around and put on that show you did?
Yeah, I mean, I started off slow a little bit on day one. I mean, it was just a mediocre day. I threw the ball pretty well, but then, I missed some shots. So I came out day two, and, the pro day, I knew that, I had 19 throws, and I wanted to be precise in every single one of them. So, I locked in, I dialed in, and, I focused on the little things, the details of every throw. And, I felt like I definitely bounced back. And, and no matter whether it's football or life, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. So felt like I bounced back from a slow start and, really got it going.
Justin Fields was there working with you guys and working, I guess, as a counselor, running some routes himself, running his own kind of pro day style. Did you get an opportunity to spend much time talking with Justin?
Yeah, so we were actually in the same kind of pod. So they split the 20 quarterbacks up into 4 different pods, so 5 guys in each pod. and Justin was the counselor kind of my pod. So the first day I was throwing a lot with him. We did all the drills together, and then just throughout the 3 days, I would talk to him, every now and then, and it's just great to be around, a guy like that who's in the position I want to be in a couple of years, as well as just kind of work out with him and take little bits from his game and try to implement them in mine.
I think it's got to be a little bit of an interesting way to look at the barometer of football, right? Here you are heading into your senior season of high school, 17 years old, watching a guy in Justin Fields who 3 years ago was the Elite 11 MVP, seeing where he is now. Does that help you understand exactly how far you still have to go as a player, as a quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, looking back on the years and seeing some of the names that have, been in this position in high school, whether they go on to win the Heisman or win a national championship or, be the first draft pick, I think it's definitely, humbling to see that you're on that track to do so. And especially a guy like Justin, who's, kind of taking, the same path I want to be in, at Ohio State and, what he did last year and what he did at the Elite 11, I think is, something that I want to stay on par with, and so he's kind of been a guy that I've been watching, but it's definitely cool to look back at some of the names and see some of the guys that have been in your shoes before.
What was the one lasting piece of advice that Justin gave you that you'll take away from the week?
I think the biggest thing is he just told me on the first day, just don't press anything, just get back there and rip it. I felt like on a few of the balls I kind of aimed it a little bit. And I know it, and he saw it within my throwing, and then kind of took that advice from day one that he gave me to just kind of relax and go back and just throw it and don't really think too much about it. And I think it turned out pretty well on pro day as well as day 3.
So day 3 finishes today. It's Wednesday. This is not going to be online on Wednesday night, but for those who are interested in that kind of thing. Caleb Williams, uncommitted prospect who's deciding this week between Oklahoma and Maryland, was named the MVP. Kyle, I think from what I've read and impartial observers who were there, there's a lot of people who were a little bit confused as to how a guy that most people didn't have finishing in their top 10 performers on 2 of the 3 days won the MVP. But apparently that was because of the weighting of the award went 75% to junior film and potential, which I guess I understand for you as a player, you're there to learn and grow. Is it hard to understand the political side of that you're a 5-star prospect, so it's not like you have to worry about this sort of stuff, but how do you take that sort of defeat? Because obviously everyone wants to compete, right? That's the goal, is to win.
Yep. Yeah. It was something that was out of my control. Obviously, I'm not the one that decides who wins the event. So, I just controlled what I controlled. I felt like I went out there and performed pretty well. But at the end of the day, it's not my decision to make. But it was a good experience, being around the guys and kind of soaking, a good amount of information up. So, I had a good time out there, but, the whole grading of it was out of my control.
I know coming into the event, there was all this talk from Ohio State, Michigan circles about you and J.J. McCarthy going up and competing against each other after all of the hullabaloo in the last year. But you're wearing a mask, but I can still see that there's a smile under there. So,
yeah.
How was it working with J.J.? I know you guys are friends.
Yeah, it was cool. It's always competition between us. I think the media tries to blow it up into something.
Sure.
It really isn't. But we're both competitors. Even if we weren't going to, the 2 big rival schools in the nation, we'd still be competing. But it's always fun to get out there and, kind of compete against a guy that, and, a couple years from now, you're going to be playing on arguably the biggest stage in college football with. So it was a good experience, competing with him because, I don't get too many chances to throw with him. But, it was a fun time out there for sure.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, Kyle, because obviously the real rivalry that could come out of this, it is potentially you and Caleb Williams, not only for the top-ranked quarterback in the country, but down the road, potentially in the college football playoff if he ends up at Oklahoma. But more pressing is the competition to try to recruit Emeka Egbuka to the schools that you guys are looking at. There's been a lot of speculation recently that if Caleb chooses Oklahoma, that he's going to have a major impact on Emeka Egbuka's ultimate decision. You have a long-term relationship now with Egbuka. Did you guys chop it up about Emeka at all? I have to ask. I cover recruiting. I have to ask.
Yeah.
Is there a tug of war starting?
No, it was kind of like the elephant in the room a little bit. It wasn't like anything crazy, but we're both going after him pretty hard. So it will be interesting to see, how his commitment affects Emeka's decision. So I'm staying after Emeka with everything I can, but it wasn't anything that we talked about.
Last thing, and I'll let you get on your plane to get home. What's the greatest takeaway from your week at the Elite 11, the 3 days you spent in Nashville? What did you learn about Kyle McCord, the quarterback?
Yeah, I went in and I thought it was going to be, something football related. Like I got, this great, coaching point or something like that. But honestly, the biggest thing that I think I'll take away from this is just how big my platform is and how many people I can, reach, at 17 years old. I think that's something that's very underrated, especially now in America. I think that's more important than ever, a lot more important than, anything I can do on the field. So that's something I really didn't realize. And then, within the meetings of the 3 days, that's something, that really opened my eyes and that the coaches really drove home was that, being, a quarterback, a top-ranked quarterback in high school and going off to play at, these big-time universities, we have a platform that's, really unheard of for kids these age. And so just how to utilize that and how to inspire as many people as possible, I think was something that, really opened my eyes and that I'll take back and work with in the future.
Glad to hear it, man. Hey, congratulations on a good week. Get home safe. We'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, man. That's Kyle McCord. I'm Jeremy Birmingham. This has been a special episode of Talking Stuff, Elite 11 edition. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe below to get the latest videos from Lettermen Row.
We got Letterman Live, we've got the practice report, we got rapid reaction. Hey, and we got Buck IQ with Zach Bourne.
For sure. We got recruiting breakdowns with Berm. We got whatever you need. Ohio State football and Ohio State athletics, we've got you covered here at Lettermen Row.